Hello, my name is Matthias Kavodik. Welcome guys to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about a pretty fascinating standalone Spidey story. It's one of my favorite Spidey stories, like within my top 10. And it takes place within the context of the Universe X story. And Universe X was part of a trilogy. You had Earth X, Universe X, and Paradise X. They came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's a collaboration between the writer, what was the name? Jim Krueger and Alex Ross. And I really do recommend you guys go out and read it. So this takes place right after what happened at the end of Earth X. And for those who know, I'm going to very briefly summarize and gloss over it. Everyone in this reality, it's not part of the main Marvel universe, the 616 universe, it's another one. Everyone has powers. Everyone was exposed to Tyrion Mist. Within the context of this universe, since everyone has powers, Peter Parker sort of becomes redundant within this world, and he sort of goes through the tragedy of the death of Mary Jane, but he did have a daughter. Her name is May, and that's a really interesting thing. Even though this is a really solid Spidey story, Peter Parker is not the main character. Everything revolves around May, who in this universe has become the host of Venom. So there's a point of conflict with her dad. And so Peter stopped being Spider-Man, got fat, started sulking all day. And this villain called Red Skull comes around, takes over New York City, and later on starts to take over the United States. And all of Marvel's main heroes, they're all old and all jacked up, go take the fight to Red Skull. Spider-Man joins along. He was really overweight. He was pretty funny. Now, after that story, Spider-Man, even though he's not Spider-Man anymore, he's not using the costume, he's lost weight. Now he's a police officer working with Luke Cage, and they're having to deal with the Church of Immortus. He's the main bad guy to Universe X, and he has this cult. And one of the members of this cult is this character called Spider's Man, who can cast illusions and tap into your fears and stuff like that. He cross paths with Peter Parker, so Peter Parker sort of has a bone to pick with this guy. So the police force wants to take him down, capture him. He's a quintessential character for Immortus to be able to control the masses and stuff like that. So Spidey decides to go it alone. He wants to take down Spider-Man when May Parker's Venom design looks freaking awesome. It looks so cool. Goes out to find his dad. And this story cuts really deep because it sort of gets into maybe not a dark side, but like a sadder side, a melancholy side of Peter Parker that you always know that was there. It's sort of also touched on in the House of M miniseries for Spider-Man, that when May Parker finds Peter and he finds him trying to confront Spider-Man's powers sort of got both characters locked. They're like in a catatonic state. When May is able to get in using the powers of the symbiote, she discovers that Peter Parker's deepest fantasies were that he always loved Gwen Stacy more than Mary Jane. Like, he loved the hell out of Mary Jane. But his fantasy for his whole life, not doesn't sound correct, the word fantasy, but what he longed for his life is to marry Gwen Stacy and have a family with her. So we see this whole idyllic life of Peter Parker living with Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane having become a couple with Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn's still a true friend. Their friendship hasn't been tainted due to Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin, so on and so forth. So Mary Jane's there trying to snap out her dad, and Peter Parker's like having none of it. Like, he's like, this is the life I wanted. Like, he doesn't realize that. He actually thinks that the Earth X universe, he's tricked by Spider-Man, is a trick of a Mysterio, that he was trying to manipulate him, and that this dreamed reality is the main reality. Like, it's a really sad story because he's trying to, it seems he doesn't want to be wakened up from this idyllic life that he wanted for himself. And May Parker's like, she's broken over this whole situation. And again, this is sort of touched on by Mark Waid in the House of M, because when May Venom is pursuing Spidey, she gets attacked by Spider-Man. And when this Spider-Man unmasks, it reveals It's Ben Parker, Peter Parker's son within this dream reality, and that Peter always wanted a son and not a daughter. And this is like this story has a lot of weight, and this just breaks poor May. Like you can see, these panels are just heartbreaking. This story is so well written, and so May's able to take down Spider's Man, and Peter Parker snaps out of it. And like Peter Parker, he breaks and starts crying because like he knows that he can't tell May, hey, no, it's not what you thought. He just begs for forgiveness because May realizes this is what he always really longed for. And like, even though it sounds super messed up, like I know of situations like this during my life. I've encountered people like this, and that they have children of a certain gender and they want them another way, or they have many brothers and they always prefer the bit older brother, and stuff like that. Like this is something that pops up a lot within a normal life, so you can totally understand it. And so the issue ends, and it's so sad. And but later on, their relationship's going to get better, and it's going to grow from this point on. So if you haven't read Earth X or Paradise X, really go out and read it. This standalone issue, it's fantastic. See you guys next time. You know, the only thing is, like, I never realized that they never explain who Spider's Man is. So I got to find out. See you guys next time. Bye.